What's up, guys? It is the Scarlet Duelist back again with yet another deck profile that I am confident calling pretty good. I have had to try and remake this video about 1,000 times. I've run into all the technical difficulties, uploading, recording, you name it. So hopefully this is the last attempt. I'm borderline at the point where I'm just like, nah. So if this one doesn't work, we're just going to call it quits, I think, for a little while. It's just been really frustrating. I think this is, I'm not exaggerating when I say I think this is my 12th time recording this. Trying to get things to work, so I'm not really sure what's going on. We'll see what we can do. Anyway, this is the Red Eyes Guard Dragon profile. Now I have to say this just as like a disclaimer, I guess just giving credit where credit is due. I did take the skeleton provided by Team Samurai X1, so I'll put a link to his video in my description. But I have tweaked it a little bit to my play style and just kind of fixed what I felt were some weaknesses. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video, that we can just jump that. Wow. That way we can just jump, nailed it first try, straight into the profile here. So let's begin. First, we've got Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. This is your play extender for the most part. He is searchable by Black Metal Dragon, so you definitely want to get this as soon as possible because this enables a lot of your shenanigans. So it's a definite needed card. If this gets stopped, you're kind of like, oh man, well, I guess I pass. So that's why we've got some of the protection that we do in here. You'll see that a little bit later. Next, we've got Amorphage Goliath. This is really cool because it's searchable. You can pretty much get it out when you want it, either with a Sendy card or a recovery card, or you can use a combination of this and Archbrave Dragon to get it out during your opponent's standby phase, and then they're locked out of their extra deck. So it's really nice, but you don't want to play it before you're done making all of your plays because you're also locked out of your extra deck. Next, we've got 3 Red Eyes Black Dragon. Because it's a Red Eyes deck, you do actually need these to get some of your combos off. I know a lot of people are like, why even run Red Eyes in this deck? It's not even Red Eyes. Yeah, it is, because you need your Red Eyes cards because they're normal monsters in order to get into your plays and a lot of your rank 7s and all that good stuff. So you do need Red Eyes, believe it or not. Contrary to popular belief, it is still a Red Eyes deck. Next, we've got 2 Red Eyes Flare Dragon. These are used for the same purpose as Red Eyes Black Dragon because they count as normal monsters in the graveyard. You combo this off with Dragon Shrine, and it really helps dump the cards that you want into the graveyard and so on. These also are here because you have essentially 5 copies of a level 7 Red Eyes monster that combos well with your cards of the Red Stone. You're upping your probability of getting those and that at the same time. So next we've got Archbrave Dragon, which is a great utility card that you can get into the graveyard pretty easily, and it revives one of your level 7 or 8 dragons, aka Amorphage Goliath. So hopefully you can get those in there at the same time, but if not, there are other ways to get Goliath out, and you can just use Archbrave as material for a rank 7 play. Next, you've got Danger Dogman. He is also material for a rank 7 monster and an upstart goblin, but I only have him at 1 because he lacks the synergy needed for dragon plays. Because once you do get your guard dragons on the field, until they're gone, you can only special summon dragon monsters. So having 3 of these can make them dead. You don't want to always see him, but when you do, for the most part, it's an upstart goblin. You're okay. Next, we've got 2 Destrudo. 3 gets clunky in my opinion because of how searchable this is. You can either get it into the graveyard as quickly as possible, or you can draw into it with the amount of milling that you do in your deck. Or you could even just straight up special summon it from the deck, actually using the Guard Dragon. So there's a lot of things you can do with Destrudo. It being a level 7 can help because you can sometimes get it out as its actual level, or you can get this out and use it for a cool synchro play. So 2 is just enough, though. I don't think you need 3 by any means. Next, we've got Supreme King Gate Infinity. This, you can use Gate 0, but I think this just has a little bit more versatility than that because you have more high-level monsters than you do lower-level monsters. So with Infinity, if you do happen to still scale it, it's at least able to be used as part of your pendulum scale to get out your big guys if that's kind of the play you're going for. But also, you can use this for some utility to make your Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon if you combo that off with your Meteor Burst. So yeah, it's got more utility than Gate 0 in my opinion. Next, we've got 2 Darkworm because you're not trying to scale Darkworm, you're trying to special summon it from the graveyard. So having multiples doesn't, I mean, 2 is okay because you can try it multiple times, but you don't want to see it on your first turn in your hand necessarily. You just want to get it sent to the graveyard because it special summons itself and searches out your gate. So that's why 2 is a great number. Next, we've got Armageddon Knight. It can kind of help get this to the graveyard, although you couldn't special summon it. So this is more for your Destrudo play or getting something else into the graveyard that you need, possibly even your Phantom Knight's Ancient Cloak, which searches out your Fog Blade, so you can get that negation at the least ready to go. But yeah, so Armageddon Knight has some utility, but you know, you can play with it. If you don't like it, definitely take it out for something else that you think is better. I could see this being the line between casual players and competitive players as far as what they would leave that I have in here and what they would just take out for something else. I like to think I'm right in the middle of casual and competitive, as I often say. So I've got this at the most optimum build for the way that I play, but definitely feel free to change any of this, especially I know this one will be iffy for some people because he's not a dragon. So yeah, you may want to put something else there. It's up to you. Next, we've got 1, the Black Stone of Legend. Because it's some utility, you can bring it out with Summon Sorceress if you really want to, and then recycle it later, get a Red Eyes back in hand after you Saryuja to special summon from your hand. But most of the time you're going to be going for this guy right here, which is Black Metal Dragon. You've got 3 of those because of the fact that it is a non-once per turn search for any Red Eyes card, which really helps you mill through and search. And by the time you do go into your Saryuja play, you've searched enough that you've really narrowed down what it's possible for you to draw into. So it's really nice, and of course it searches out Red MD over here. So yeah, this is really your play starter. This is really what gets everything going. You really want to get this out as quickly as possible for your most optimum board. But what I like to think about this deck is that even if you don't, you can still do things, and that was kind of my goal. And I'll just kind of plug this a little. It's a little bit of a difference between Team Sam and mine. His basically relies on a 2-card combo to get a good board, and it's one of those break my board boards. And while it's really good, after that you really don't have any resources. So I'm trying to kind of still make it good, but at least have some options for you in case you can't get that optimum board every single time, because you won't get it every single time. It's just not always possible. Our 2 traps are Red Eyes Fang with Chain, searchable, and Phantom Knight's Fog Blade, also searchable. You can put multiples of these in here if you want. I didn't find it necessary, but if you just want to have all the negation, go for it. If you feel like you could search it more than once, which you technically could using Rusty and your Phantom Knight's monster, but I found that 1 was enough because you don't want to draw into them. Well, I guess you kind of could, but the goal is to usually search it if possible. Next, we've got 3 Called by the Grave, which was one of those things that I was also one of those weaknesses I did find in Team Sam's video, which, I mean, all respect to the guy. I know he was just trying to show you basically what the deck can do and all of its combos, so he wasn't worrying about hand traps. But if you do want to build this and actually play with it, casual or competitive guys, you need 3 Called by the Grave, because if your stuff gets stopped even by an effect veiler, you're kind of just going to pass. That's just the way it is. Next, we've got some of our play extenders. We've got 1 DDR because you do banish cards. Next, you've got a Monster Reborn because it's Monster Reborn. And then we have 3 Return of the Dragon Lords. I said I'd do this at the end, and I won't go straight up into everything. My play extenders are different than Team Sam's, that's all I'll say, but for now, I'll just leave it at this. They're just as effective at extending your plays because of the amount of level 7 or 8 dragons you run, and because you do banish some of your dragons anyway. So it really doesn't matter how you get them back as long as you have a card that allows you to get them back. His are very useful, but if you don't have them, like I said, they're not necessary to have in order to play the deck well. Next, we've got 1 Allure of Darkness, 2 Cards of the Redstone. I don't know why I didn't just keep stacking them like I did with the monsters. I just went straight back into my old routine. Whoops. Oh well, it's faster than it used to be anyway. And we've got 1 Column Switch. I'll explain this first. I know a lot of people prefer to just run 3 Allure, and that's fine. It's really a matter of preference, but my idea behind 2 Cards of the Redstone, even though you can only activate 1 once per turn, you're probably not going to see both in your hand at the same time, and nor would you probably see 2 Allure of Darkness in your hand at the same time. And although Allure of Darkness is not limited to the once per turn effect, I still prefer to send a card to the graveyard rather than banish it. And because you can search your Red Eyes monsters with the way that this deck is played, this becomes a really live card if you have it in your hand, much like if you would have Allure of Darkness. So it's really a matter of preference, but because I can get 2 sends to the graveyard off of this and draw 2 cards, I thought this was a better play for the way that I'd like to play the deck. However, if you don't care about what this does, run 3 Allure and that works just fine. It's really a matter of preference. Next, we've got 1 column switch, because you don't need to switch the column of a monster to get an amazing board with this deck. You really don't. However, if you want to extend and even go further and you do happen to draw into your column switch, you can move something around so that you can use an additional Guard Dragon effect to special summon, nope, that's not a word, special summon something from your deck or extra deck using the Guard Dragons. You can switch something around here with this, and it does extend your plays further and allow you to get 1 additional monster, but it's not necessary to get a good board. So that's why it's at 1. It's always good when you see it, but you don't have to. You know what I mean? Next, we've got 3 Dragon Shrine, and you're going to see something silly with this. I still went into my old routine. Oh, well, I give up. It's fine. We're fine. We're making good time here. It doesn't matter. We've got 3 Dragon Shrine. I have 2 black and white printouts of Dragon Shrine just because I ordered additional copies that I thought I already had anyway, but it turns out I didn't, so I ordered them, and they're not here yet, but I wanted to make this video and not wait for whenever those arrive, because usually after you order a card, it takes like a week to get here, and I didn't want to wait another week. So 3 Dragon Shrine, they really help you get your plays started, get that Dark Worm into the graveyard. Same thing with Dragon Ravine and Foolish Burial. So you're running 5 cards that, 6 if you count Armageddon Knight, but you can't really use him after that. But 5 cards that get the card that you want into the graveyard. And then finally we have 1 for 1 to at least be basically 4 copies of Black Metal Dragon. So yeah, that is it for the main deck, guys. Now we'll go into the extra deck, and then I'll talk a little bit about the side deck. I may not go through the whole thing, because maybe I can discuss more of that further in a combo video. And yes, I will be making a combo video after this one to show you how to play the deck and play it well, because it can get confusing, to be honest. It took me a little bit of practicing with it to get the plays down without messing something up. So first extra deck monster I'm going to show you is Borrelguard Dragon. You can substitute this if you are a non-budget player. If you have Borreload or Borrelsword, definitely substitute that because they are the better cards. This is still a solid choice though. It does some cool stuff, and it helps you get those Guard Dragons after you've used them off of the field, so you're no longer under that restriction of having to play dragon monsters, which is important, especially if you want to go into a Rusty. You have to get those off of the field first. Next, you've got Saryuja, which is there to help you draw into more cards and then set up your hand as a hand reset. Gets you an additional special summon. You know what this does. You've got Summon Sorceress as well, which helps you get out your additional Black Metal Dragon after you revive it with your Red MD. You can go into Summon Sorc after using Twin Triangle Dragon and so on. I'll show you that in the combo video, but this is a very good play extender, which helps you go into Saryuja. Next, you've got the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. A lot of people just call this Bard because of the long name. There's a lot of debate about this card. I won't go into that right now because that's not what this video is for, but it's a very useful utility card that at least searches out that Fog Blade for you, and potentially if you want to throw in some other Phantom Knights stuff, this has a lot of obviously synergy with that because it's a Phantom Knights card, and it's really good, guys. And it opens up some extra deck monster zones too if you want to go into some other things. Next, we've got our Guard Dragons, which I'll just show you all at once. Each of these does something different. Where they're similar is they all special summon a monster from somewhere that's a dragon to a zone that 2 or more link monsters are pointing to, as long as you can summon a monster to that zone. So obviously, you know, you have to be able to have that zone free in order to special summon a monster to it. But if you do have 2 or more link monsters pointing to a zone, Pisti special summons from the graveyard or a banished zone, LP special summons from your deck, and Agarpain special summons a monster from your extra deck. Now, with Agarpain, you do have to be careful because you cannot special summon something that says like must be fusion summoned or must be synchro summoned. It has to not have that summoning restriction on it in order to do that effect. So keep that in mind before you just throw any dragon in your extra deck. You do have to fit the requirements still. Next, we've got Twin Triangle Dragon, which is what you use your Dark Worm and your Black Metal Dragon to go in on first, because then that revives another monster for you to just keep on going. So Twin Triangle, very good card in the deck. My non-link monsters are Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, and I'll just show you the Odd Eyes Suite, even though we're going a little bit out of order. You've got Odd Eyes Meteor Burst as well. Why did I do that? And then Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. Basically, you can use these two kind of intermingled. They help you get to this faster. You could special summon this using Agarpain, but if you want to save Agarpain's effect for something else, you can also use it using Meteor Burst to pull up your Gate Infinity to go into Absolute, link off of that, and then this will be special summoned, as long as you've got a free zone for it. Or you can just go into straight up this using your Red Eyes monsters as rank 7 material. It really depends on what you get. But yeah, there are lots of ways for you to get Odd Eyes Vortex, which is a free negate anything as long as you've got a Pendulum monster face up in your extra deck, which you will because Dark Worm's one of your main combo pieces. Next, you've got Crystal Wing, which is there to special summon with Agarpain if you are more concerned about monster effects. If you're more concerned about spells, I would go with Titanic Galaxy. And if you're more concerned about, you don't really know what to be concerned about, just bring out the Vortex with Agarpain. But usually you're not dealing with a ton of traps right now in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! But if you do feel concerned about traps, maybe you're going up against Altergeist, bring out Odd Eyes Vortex. So yeah, that's what these three are for. They're there for whatever you want to take care of. Next, you've got Clearwing Synchro Dragon, which you can go into using Destrudo, combination with another lower level monster. It's at least 2 potential negates. It's a solid card. It's the little brother of Crystal Wing. And then finally you do have Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, which is also just a solid dragon to go into if you don't want to make Odd Eyes Absolute for whatever reason. So that is our extra deck, and that is pretty much it, guys. You can leave if you are not concerned with the side deck. That is all I was going to show you. If you're still interested in the side deck, stay tuned because I'll talk about that for just a couple minutes and then we'll be all done with the video. So for going second, I thought just for fun, tack in Majestic Star Dragon. So when you're siding, you want to be sure, because you are going first deck already, you can bet that your opponent's going to not want you to go first to get that board set up because it's crazy. So you can potentially go into things like Majestic Star Dragon or the Phantom Knights of Breaksword, because we're going to throw in some more Phantom Knight stuff from the side deck. Or even Dark Rebellion, which you can special summon later with some of your level 4s that you'll have, or with Agarpain's effect, which then you will use the rank up spell possibly to go into Azathoth as just a little bit of disruption and negation on your opponent. I'm not using Azathoth as just like that one turn stun. A lot of people, I will say, are angry at the use of Azathoth. In my personal opinion, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Your opponent can still set cards or activate spells and traps, and it's an inspector border that lasts for 1 turn. So I really don't think, even if you did throw it in your main deck, you can definitely do it. I've got it in the side deck as like a smoke screen play. Now I know I just was talking about going second. You could also throw this in as a smoke screen play going first, obviously, because you would stun your opponent even more with it. But yeah, you just want to be careful because you can't play this if you still have your guard dragons on the field. But it's definitely possible to make an Azathoth first turn with this deck if you just want to throw it in the main deck. That's what I was going to talk about for the most part. I don't do that just because in the setting that I play, it just wouldn't be fun for my friends to play against that. So I just have it in the side deck. Now in a tournament, I might throw it in because in a tournament, you are trying to win. You're not worried about if you're going to make someone mad. So yeah, these are some other things you can throw in. Then I've obviously got the rank up spell, and then just some side deck options because going first, you don't really you don't worry so much about packing in hand traps, or at least I don't, because those are dead cards. When you open up with your first 5 cards going first, you want every card to be an optimal card to do what your deck does best. But going second, you might want a hand trap or 2 so that you can stop your opponent from making a board, and then you can push the next turn. So I've got 3 Skullmeister, that stops graveyard effects. You've got 1 Ghost Ogre because that's all I have, but it's still a solid card. You've got 3 Effect Veiler, which is a solid hand trap. However, in the next couple days, that could turn into Ash Blossom. I would still side deck Ash Blossom personally, because it is just my personal belief that going first, you don't want a hand trap it to be one of your 5 cards, because now you've only got 4 cards to make your hand go off. Next, you've got Twin Twisters, which is good for back row hate. And then finally, 2 more Phantom Knights cards that are searchable and that you can combo off using Rusty later on, do some shenanigans with that. So that's it, guys. That's it for the entire deck, including the side deck. These are just, you know, cards that I picked, so please don't get all like, I know there are going to be competitive people that are like, why on earth would you ever play that? That sucks. But remember that I am right in between competitive and casual. I don't go to YCSs very often. In fact, I've never been to a YCS. The highest I've gone to is regional. So yeah, I make decks for my play style personally. You can definitely take stuff in and out depending on what you prefer. And also, I wanted to mention that, so the main differences between mine and Team Samurai X1's video, in case you didn't catch it, were basically, well, I noticed 3 weaknesses. One was that he didn't have any defense against hand traps at all. So if you get hand trapped at all, you were done. The other one was I noticed that he had really specific play extenders that you didn't necessarily have to have in order to go off. So I've changed the deck enough to where you don't need those play extenders to get a good board. And you don't need to commit every single resource you had into making that board. Honestly, guys, he used a ton of resources in Saryuja twice to get a board that you can make pretty easily without doing that. Basically, your ending board is getting 1 to 2 negations out with an Amorphage Goliath. That's kind of your main goal. And if you can get that out, your opponent is going to have a pretty hard time playing against that. So I'm definitely, again, I'm not dissing on Team Samurai X because he's a solid deck builder and a solid Yugi tuber, and has a really positive attitude towards the game. I have nothing against him at all. But yeah, as far as that deck, he knows this too. Like, I mean, it was meant to be a skeleton for you to change. So those are just some things that I changed to make the deck better. Hopefully you can see that, and that hopefully you can see the differences and notice that it's just, well, it's different. And it's really still playable, still a solid deck. If I put it in the tier system, I would say, you know, I use my own here. It could top a regional and steal some wins at a YCS personally. I don't know if it would win one because the format right now actually competitively is very ambiguous, but yeah, you never really know. So thanks for watching. Again, like the video if you liked it. If you didn't, leave a mean comment that I won't read, and subscribe if you liked it as well. See ya.